Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, which we're still calling Talk Israel because it's real talk about Israel. Aval, but remember, aval is my favorite word in Hebrew. Aval, but wait, there's more. So we have settled on a new name, guys, because when we upgraded to this great video podcast, we're like, if I'm going to have on the caliber of guests that I have on today, these two amazing sisters, I was like, I need to step up my podcast. So therefore, we are officially unveiling this today, ladies, with you. Our podcast will be officially changing names to Zionist AF because those are my initials. But also AF stands for other things because I am Zionist AF. So, that being said, I thought about how do I introduce these two wonderful, magnificent ladies? And I was like, yeah, I don't think I can. I'm just going to let them introduce themselves. I will, before they introduce themselves, say that, you know how sometimes, guys, the stars align and people come into your life and you're like, oh God, how did I? This is so exciting. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to meet someone. That's how I felt when I got this random call from you ladies because a mutual friend, I guess, through someone in the government said, oh, you guys should talk. Talk, have fun. So these two sisters have so much to share. The only thing I'm going to say before they introduce themselves is, you know, sometimes people say, like, oh my God, that's so exciting. You should make a movie about that. There's a teaser. All right, ladies, who's going to introduce themselves first?
Both of us. I'm Clila.
Which sister?
And I am Hadassa. Clila and Hadassa Bau. And we are the daughters.
And if you guys can't tell, I mean, guys, put your faces together. Go like this so we can see how cute you guys are. Yeah, look at them. I can't wait to visit you guys. End of June, early July. I should be back.
Great.
So we're gonna hang out and we'll do an updated podcast about what's going on. Now there's so much to talk about because I mean, okay, obviously these two sisters are freaking adorable, and I know you guys are like, oh my God, how did you meet? And by the way, they came on the podcast and I'm like, oh my God, you guys match your shirts. That's so cute. And they're like, no, we do this all the time and we don't even realize it. Like man, it's like one mind over there. Now, you guys, you guys grew up in a, kind of like a unique family atmosphere. Now, there are certain things that are often thought about, said, talked about when, families that are survivors of, something very horrific. Like, unfortunately, we're going to be having this same conversation 50 years from now with those families after October 7th. But your parents were Holocaust survivors. And yeah, which automatically says a lot and often comes up with many questions and a lot of I think probably pressure and stigma and expectations with all of that. But your parents had a very unique circumstance. Now, they're known in a category of sorts because they were Schindler's List survivors, and a lot of people in the U.S. know the movie Schindler's List, right? And we all know that Oscar Schindler didn't start out to be this like pious, great-hearted man. He was a greedy MFer, and he he wasn't like he didn't start out going, I'm going to save Jews. He was like, I'm going to make money. And then, Bezrat Hashem, like all the stars aligned and he realized like, no, I'm going to do the right thing. And then actually went and saved people. Now, your parents not only were saved, but they were monumental in saving others. But their story, even because when like this all happened, they were not already married. So do you want to I feel like if I tell the story, it doesn't do it justice. So I don't know, who wants to dive in, or both of you take turns, whatever works. I mean,
Okay, so our father was born in Krakow. We say it like Polish people, Krakow. Yeah,
Krakow, Poland.
yeah.
Yes, I've been there.
Yep. He was very talented from an early age. And he studied in University of Art 1 year when the war broke out. And when he was taken to the ghetto, the Nazis were looking for someone who knew to write in Gothic letters. Gothic letters were ancient German letters, and he was the only one. So he worked in the German police, drawing for them, writing signs, everything what they needed. And secretly, he was in the Jewish underground, and he was forging documents for many Jews, and they managed to escape. And one day, they told his friends from the underground, they said, Józek, his name was Joseph, but in Polish, Józek or Józio, you saved so many people. Make for yourself a document and run away. And he said, tell me, if I run away, who will save the others? And didn't leave. He could have, but didn't. And from the ghetto, they transferred him and his family, except his younger brother, who was 13, that they killed, to Plaszow concentration camp. Plaszow was the camp that in the movie Schindler's List they showed. That the commandant was Amon Get, this horrible, horrible, horrible Nazi. And our father worked in his office. He was the draftsman, again, anything they needed. Secretly, he kept on saving Jews. Secretly,
Of course he did.
He did so many things, but we will get to it. And if someone today goes to Plaszow concentration camp, there is nothing there. The Germans tore it down completely. Were you there?
So I did not visit that camp. So, actually, this is a good pause. Not all of our listeners know this. I did used to lecture on the Holocaust, and I did go to Poland, and I visited 5 different concentration camps. But I remember, at Sobibor, it was like, there's nothing but a pile, though they have recently done all that amazing work by uncovering and being able, through archaeologists, to literally find the remnants of the gas chambers and everything else and the mass graves and everything. And it's like, I recently saw a documentary about it, and I was floored and overrun with emotion, a lot of different emotions. But yes, so the Nazis were sick fucks. We can say that every once in a while on the podcast. They, and when it got to the point, yes, there were certain concentration camps that they did try to, even though they kept documents of everything. They tried to get rid of all the evidence. And so, like you were saying, that unfortunately that camp is one of the camps that was like,
and
they tried to cover up.
Proof there was a camp is this map that our father drew there. Thanks to this map, they are able today they are building their museum.
To trace back.
And thanks to this.
Yeah. That's exactly what they did in Sobibor, thanks to the map.
Yeah. And thanks to this map, our father met our mom inside the camp. He got dressed as a woman, smuggled himself into the women's camp, and that's how they got secretly married. When he proposed.
I love that. I wonder if your father was a very pretty woman that day.
Listen, he was so handsome. Very. And he would have made it like a woman. You had some gentle face, so.
That's why he has 2 daughters, right? Your father was in touch with his feminine side. I mean, the fact that he saw your mom, they met, and it wasn't like, it was like, oh, hey, Jews, why don't you go socialize? Why don't you go enjoy yourselves? The concentration camps, you were either worked to death, or just put to death, or it wasn't like, I mean, yes, if you had certain skills that they could exploit and utilize, like your father had skills, and that is why he was able to stay alive, because they needed him to do something. And by the way, guys, it's not like they paid him a salary. to do all of the things that he did. So he was essentially slave
Right?
labor. Okay, I'm just in case any of our listeners are
Slave.
unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Yes, because unfortunately in the United States we don't actually teach history quite thoroughly anymore, or at all, or we just rewrite it completely in the school system. Anyway, so I do want to make sure that our listeners are aware of that. So he sees your mom, they meet, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I'll just dress up as a woman to go into the women's camp so we can
No,
secretly
actually,
marry."
she didn't know. He surprised her. She didn't know. But when he proposed to her, so she said, "You must be completely crazy. Who is getting married in a concentration camp?" And he said to her, "And who promises us that we are going to be alive tomorrow?" She said, "You are right." And they decided to get married. So he didn't eat his daily bread
Goosebumps.
every day. Wait, I just turned off the phone. Every day,
That's okay. So did he utilize
he
ration?
didn't eat his daily bread, and for that he bought from someone a silver teaspoon. And again, he didn't eat his daily bread. Like, look what he did for love, because every day they got tiny piece of bread. That's all.
Yes. Like tiny pieces of often
No.
stale bread and very, very thin soup. It was not, yeah, the people in the concentration camps were not well taken care of, guys. They were not well nourished. They were malnourished. And that is why, the few pictures that are available are people that are so
Right?
very frail and
Yeah.
thin. But I mean, your father went out of his way.
So again, he didn't eat his
That's
daily
amazing.
bread, the tiny piece for a few days. And he gave to a
Yeah.
jeweler the spoon, and secretly he made from it 2 wedding bands. And then when he smuggled himself to the women's camp, like he said, הרי את מקודשת לי בטבעת זו, כדת משה וישראל, and this was the wedding. And the wedding it was from love, of course, because they loved each other so much. They only met like 2 months. It wasn't a love for years. But they also want...
I think your parents' souls were connected long before that.
And they also did it to show people that life will continue. For that they did it. They gave them hope. They see, we are getting married, so it means we are going to have good life. The war will end. And then our mom, so our father saved also by telling jokes all the time. And we have those jokes because he wrote them. But the problem is that we only have the punchline and we don't know what was the joke. And he kept it secretly in the case he had that his parents bought him for school. And also, what else did he do? He made cards. Now, 24 different cards, and he used them to save people. If he saw someone who wanted to commit suicide. And were many like that. Maybe every day, minimum 24 or more. And it was very easy because they only touched the electrocuted barbed wire and that's it.
I know.
So he came and said, "Why do you want to commit suicide? The war will end. We'll have good life. Leave me alone. I have enough." You know what?
Yeah.
Let's play cards. Who has cards? I made, and he took out the cards. There were 24, and he said, "Okay, pick a card." And there is a picture of a woman, a beautiful woman. You see, you will meet a beautiful woman. Or a wedding, you'll get married, you'll have a baby, you'll be a doctor or a patient. And people told us that he gave them hope. And 20 some years ago, a lawyer came to someone came to the museum and said, "I am a lawyer because Joseph Bau told me that I will be a lawyer." And he painted me, and he did a card. he looked for the card and he found it. He said, this painting he painted me. And also he wrote poems.
Wow.
Beautiful poems. I didn't have paper. So he wrote it on cigarette butts.
Yes, back in the day, people would roll
Yes.
cigarettes. Actually, in Israel, people roll cigarettes. In the United States, no, not so much, but I do know what you're talking about. You know, I wanna say again, so you guys were talking about how your parents were like, we're gonna give people hope. We got married. And yeah, they got married. It's not like they then got to like live together. You know, the men and the women were in
Right.
separate camps. They were like they had separate sleeping quarters. So, you know, I know from just talking to you guys that they would, you know, every second they could steal together that they would. But I mean, how strong both your parents were, to not only to get through everything that they got through and survive, right? So surviving is an amazing, ridiculous accomplishment in and of itself, right? Between the malnourishment, the weather, the lack of clothing, the lack of medical care, everything. I mean, you know, there was no care for you know, the Jews that were in the concentration camps, and then but to then not only have their own power to keep themselves going, but then to be able to give other people so
Right.
much hope, is amazing. And I do want to say now, you know, we can't say too much about it, but you know, people are probably listening to this and like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, how is this possible? This is the kind of story you should make a movie about.
Right.
So I do believe that we can say that there is a
Right.
movie about
Yeah.
your parents. We can't say too much
No,
about it
we
right now
can. We
because, you
can.
know,
We
everything
can.
is fluid. Okay.
What's very
So,
important to say that our father wrote his memoirs in a book.
Yeah.
And
And this map also from this book, Dear God, have you ever gone hungry? And he wrote it with sense of humor.
and now when our parents were talking about the Holocaust every
yes.
day, and people said, why are you talking? No one wants to hear. And our parents said, we must talk. What will happen if in 50 years
Yes.
someone will come and say there was no Holocaust? We have to do it. So our father wrote, and only after our mom passed away, we found out that she wrote 2 diaries that we had no idea about them. She called it In the Name of God. And this is a diary that we just translated to English.
Yeah, let's show
First,
that.
it was in Polish that we translated to Hebrew.
First of all, guys, take a look at that Punim. Look at that face on their mom, and then look at the two of them. Like, oh my God, genetics. So gorgeous. All 3 of you ladies. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
So,
They showed me the book before we started, and I was like, all right, Anya, hold it together. But, you know, your parents were very different. You know, there's a lot of stigmas, or a lot of people, you know, who are children of Holocaust survivors often say their homes were very quiet. Like there was not a lot of joking. And again, that doesn't make anyone's parents better or worse than anyone else's, right? That is one of the most, it's the craziest thing to have survived it, you know, in and of itself. But how people deal with trauma and overcoming things is very different, and everyone can deal with things in their own way. But on top of like trying to like be hopeful and strong for themselves, but also for you guys, your parents also provided that for so many other people. And in your house, like you guys told me, it was like, oh my God, your father was constantly like telling jokes and pulling jokes on people, pulling pranks, and there was a lot of laughter in your house. It's clear that there was a ton of love. 100% clear just from hearing the stories of your parents, and also like, I mean, when someone watches 5 minutes of this podcast, they're going to be like, "Oh my God, those sisters are adorable. They're like best friends and sisters. That's so cute." Because sometimes you love your family, but you don't always like them. But not in your case. You guys are like so cute. But there was something so different about your parents, and they were open. And I know that we talked about this on a phone call before the podcast, but like your father was very open. And he drew things and wrote, and he was like, if we're not careful, and he was talking about it because he is right. If we do not study history and acknowledge where we went wrong as humans, we will repeat it. And we are seeing some very disgusting things right now. You guys are in Tel Aviv, and Israel went through a horrific, one of the deadliest days, since the Holocaust on October 7th, and the level of depravity and inhumanity that went on by the monsters of Hamas is something in and of itself to live through. But like your parents definitely had their own way of coping, and you guys have that, the neshama of both your parents is very clearly inside both of you. Just with how warm you guys are, and I can tell that there was so much like love and so much joy, and possibly like maybe at times almost too much laughter. Like I feel like growing up my belly would have hurt from laughing so hard in your house, maybe.
So our father even wrote a book with jokes that he created, and he told me from an early age to tell jokes. And Hadassa, he taught how to write words and music, and everything should be fun.
When I was 6, and Clila when she was 4, can you imagine?
Yeah, it was a very happy.
I can imagine hearing the little bit that I've heard about your parents. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And the house was full of people all the time. Our mom was a cosmetician, beautician. She did manicure, pedicure, facial. She was also a naturopath. She was growing a lot of herbs and things. And it's the days that no one was talking about it. But our house smelled so good from all the herbs. She was making her own creams and everything.
I believe it. Look, your parents were, yeah. I wish, what I want is for everyone to know more, not just about, you two, not just about your parents, but about all of you and like your family as a unit. And this is a good way to transition to talk about the fact that you guys have a museum that features a lot of work from them. And this is also something, one of the things that we talked about, but I want our listeners to understand that oftentimes it isn't till unfortunately after someone is gone that we find out like the extent of things that they were involved in, good or bad. And all of the good that your father did, you didn't necessarily know until after they were gone, when other people started sharing or you guys found things, because both your parents were very humble and didn't, and kept inside the many things that they did for other people. Because they weren't the type of people to talk about it. And it wasn't like they were hiding anything. They just were modest people in that regard. It wasn't about, oh, look what we did. It was just, we did it. Yeah, obviously we did it. Like, that's what you do. And I think, you guys right now with everything, you are looking to move the museum, but we will attach like where it is now and when you guys have a new location and everything. And if anyone is interested in finding out more about the museum or helping with the move and helping like location and helping, because we do need to raise some funds for all of this to happen, we'll put all of this information up on the podcast so that people can reach out and find the information and get to know more about those things specifically. Because yes, when I'm in Israel in I don't know, what is it, like roughly a month and a half or so, I will come and we will broadcast and show pictures of everything in the museum so people can see it. We'll do follow-up. Our listeners love the follow-up. And but there's something very special that I hope that everyone, obviously would get to experience in person. I can't wait to experience it in person, to really be able to see, as opposed to when you're just looking at a picture of something versus like being able to really see it and really see your father's work firsthand and stuff like that. I will feel it will be my privilege to do that. But I think I just think like you two, just looking at you and talking to you and having people be able to see you, is really a beautiful legacy and a beautiful testament to the love of your family.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think often in this time, we're in a time where people are so angry and so short-sighted and the victim mentality. There was never victim mentality in your household. That is abundantly clear to me. Your parents were not victims. They didn't raise you to be victims. They raised you to be strong and confident and caring. And I think that is a lesson. And I feel like if your father could say something, I feel like that's what he would say to people right now. Like, must speak, die, enough of this nonsense. By the way, guys, die is not like DIE, like stop living. Die is like, when, the kid's like, mom, 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 mom. Then the parent goes, die. It's just enough. I tell the new Israelis in the US, listen, if your kids are really being annoying and you're out in public, do not scream die. Scream must speak. I don't care how much you want to say die. Don't do it because people are going to be like, oh my God, that person wants their kids to drop dead? Oh. Yeah, no. So the reason it was the first time I heard an Israeli friend scream it at her child who was really actually being quite a brat in a store. I was like, psst, psst, don't do that again. She's like, why? I'm like, must speak. No die, must speak. So, okay? I'll explain later. Let's go. People are going to be like, child services. Uh, but I feel like it's like, own who you are. Be proud of who you are. Know who you are. Do what's right. Make someone's life a little bit better. I feel like that is kind of I feel like that's just like your family. It's in the neshama. It's in your head. It's in your heart. It's how you guys are. And I really feel like it's literally a privilege to bring you to people outside of Israel and whoever is listening at this given time. And I don't really know what else to say about like just how much I want people to know you, but the museum is an experience in of itself. It's like, I mean, it's so much to see and learn, that you can just like go there and see it. And it's in Tel Aviv. We have the current address, and when you guys move, we'll update all of that stuff. Israel is a very small country, guys. We know that it fits inside New Jersey. But Israel is innovating all the time and refreshing buildings and increasing transportation. And they're doing a bit of like a light rail type upgrade in Tel Aviv, similar to Jerusalem, which is like making it necessary to move a lot of things around temporarily. But I will say, you know what? I know that you guys are literally living in the middle of it, so it might be hard to like really see, but construction here on the highways goes on forever, like 20, 30 years, 40 years. And I'm like, what do they do? Nothing. Still, I will say that when I'm in Israel, at least I see progression with the construction. Like I see that something's being done. I know it seems like it's taking forever, but I can tell you because I'm there and then I leave and then I come back, it looks different.
Yeah.
So at least there's a light at the end of the tunnel, we would say in an English figure of speech there. Light at the end of the tunnel. We'll see, there will be an end to the construction and the museum will find a new home soon. What is it that, you would want people to, most of our listeners are in North America. We have people in Canada and the US. That's where most of our listeners are. Is there a message you guys would want to share with them about anything, like anything about current events or your parents? I mean, this is your time to shine.
Why our father built the theater for us and the museum? Only because one thing. He and also our mom told us, your job in life is to make the world happy. That's what they wanted.
Yeah, and that's why we tell the story. That's why Hadassa writes words and music. She wrote now a song that is exactly for these days that are now. Beautiful song, very easy to learn. And even if someone doesn't know Hebrew, he can sing with us. And it's so beautiful. And we were invited to the place where the families of the hostages, and they asked us to come and tell the story to give them strength. And we sang the song,
To
and they
give them
sang
hope,
with
yeah.
us, and we feel that it really.
They are coming to the museum, many people that they out of the houses. They come like that, sad,
Yeah.
oh, everyone, only today we talk about. They going so happy, with laughter. Can you imagine? They are coming people, goy nefesh.
I think now I'm not a very religious person. I am very, very Jewish. My son used to say, we put the ish in Jewish, mom. But obviously, like, Ani Yehudia, Chazak, Chazak, Aval, Ani. I am a Zionist, and I am Zionist AF, okay? Like, Kachol v'Levan, Kol Yom, Kol Yom. But I do think that every once in a while, even though I'm not a very religious person, I think about religious texts, and there is literally something that is commanded of Jews that even in the darkest of times, you must be the light, right? And that is why, since October 7th, I have dedicated myself to sharing stories of survivors and getting testimony and helping those in Israel who are the most affected, because it is literally my responsibility to be the light and bring the light, or shine the light and bring attention to something. So I think, what you guys are able to do is you are literally fulfilling that obligation. You are the light to so many people right now. And I'm trying to get through this without getting really emotional. But I do think that's super important. Now, again, I don't want to put anyone on the spot because the song was a surprise to me. You guys kept that a secret. Is that something we want to share at all on the podcast, or do we want to just
of
do it
course
as a
we
link?
want to share it.
Okay, so are we
So
going to
you want
sing
to
it?
sing it? Okay.
I can't sing it. I don't know it.
Wait.
Plus, I want to keep our listeners, not scare them away.
The song, it says, "Yeh tov," will be good. It will be good. Everything will be okay.
It will be good. Yeah.
And it's a very easy song and very happy. Wait one second.
This is such a treat, guys. I did not.
Yeah, this
Very,
is
very
nice.
positive surprise. While they're getting ready, I want to remind everyone that links to get in contact with them and information about the museum and everything else will be included when the podcast is up on the streaming services. It will be in the description section, so you guys can contact them.
Here it comes. 1 second. Here.
Will be good.
Yeah, we definitely hear it.
כל עם ישראל הוא עם אחד, בוא נהיה לעד, יד ביד, נצא בריקודים לכל היסוד, ואז יהיה טוב. יהיה טוב, 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 יהיה טוב. החמאס רוצה אותנו לחסל, נגן, 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 נגן על ישראל, נצא בריקודים לכל היסוד, ואז יהיה טוב, 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 יהיה טוב,
יהיה טוב.
טוב, יהיה טוב.
יהיה טוב. No, I'm going to keep clapping for a second because that is a first on my podcast of 2 years. As a first, and I feel like I don't even I feel like mic drop, just like bam. You can't get better than that. My cheeks hurt from smiling so much from that. And I feel like, you know what, guys, I do talk to them often. And I feel like every time I get off the phone with you guys, my cheeks hurt because I am smiling. I feel like if I had spent time in your house, like as you guys were growing up, I would have been like, stop, I can't, my cheeks, my belly, everything hurts. Because I would have just been laughing all the time. And I think, you know what, if you don't laugh, you cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. Crying is very cathartic, and I cry every day. Sometimes I cry when I'm happy. Sometimes I cry when I'm sad. Sometimes I cry when I'm frustrated. It's all hakol beseder. Hakol beseder. It's all good. It's all okay. Aval, laughing is important. Laughing is healing. It heals your soul. It heals you physically. There are doctors that have done research on this, that it heals you physically. It gives you strength. And you two beautiful, wonderful, amazing people, loving sisters. I cannot wait to spend time with you. I'm just afraid I'm not going to leave. I'm just going to be like, that's it. Mic drop, I'm staying. I mean, I am moving in a year, and our listeners know that, but I do have stuff that I need to take care of before we get there. But you know, I can't wait to see you guys. A month and a half cannot go by fast enough so that I can just get there and be with you. But I really want, we're going to put a link with the song on, and what I'll do is I'll write up a brief little translation. Like some of the, I heard Yad V'Yad, so, like together, hand in hand, together we can kind of.
And we have more, 2 more, how do you say, bites?
Oh, 2 more.
Yeah,
okay,
2
verses.
more.
Yeah. So we'll have all that, and we'll add all of that onto the podcast so that people can do it. You know, I wanna end with like I mean, I don't even know what to like. I honestly, like, I'm not often left speechless. I mean, for the love of God, I talk for a living, right? I should have something to say. You know, a funny story. My parents are lovely people. But my father used to be so annoyed by my incessant chatting that he finally said to me, you know what, Anya, why don't you find a job where you get paid to talk? Because all you ever do is talk. You never shut up. Well, as I've said in other podcast, jokes on you, Dad. I did. I found a job that I get to talk for a living. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for showing me the way. My dad is one of our most loyal listeners, so he'll be happy about that. But I want you guys to just anything that you know You just want people to know or to think about. It doesn't even have to relate to Israel specifically, though. I mean, obviously we love talking about Israel. It could be about what's going on today. It could be, listen, maybe if I played that song at the encampments on college campuses with all of the protesters, maybe they would, I don't know, grow a conscience, grow a heart, grow a brain, and get the hell out. Because they're all just so miserable and screaming all the time. But I can't fix everybody, but what we can do is share the message, be the light. You know what? Do something nice that makes someone smile in your day. You guys literally live that. You are the light. You are a very big joy in my life. You guys got to see my son today too. He's not a big fan of coming on the podcast. So our listeners are just going to have to deal with that. He does not like it. But I'm so glad that you guys were able to do this. What we're going to do is right here and now, guys, you hear it. I am saying it right now. עכשיו, אני אומרת, I am saying it. They are coming back on. Matai, when I'm in Israel, we're going to do a broadcast from the museum. We're going to do the podcast from the museum. We'll do a walk and talk, guys. We'll do a walk and talk. That way everyone can see the museum. And any other links, we'll go ahead and put them up. But I just want you guys I want you to have the last word.
First of all, we love you very much.
And I love you both.
And you know what? And we
Gamani.
love all the world. Even that in the Holocaust, no one did something. 5.5 years, our father always said, no one came to help to the Jews. They wait to finish them. All the Jews. But we want to say about the museum that our parents received
First of all, they received a certificate of Jews who save Jews by Bnei Brit International. And our museum, probably everyone heard about TripAdvisor, right? So 8 years we are attraction number 1 in Tel Aviv. A few years ago we were in the 10% of all the attractions recommended worldwide. And the end of 2023, we got the certificate, the medal, the best of the best. We are in the 1% of all the attractions recommended worldwide. And it's
Bravo.
it's everything thanks to our parents.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Yes. I can say like ha'ima gam ha'aba I always mess this up.
Shelachem.
Shelachem. See, I get really confused, guys, with not the male-female part, but then I was like, wait, there's 2 of you. I can't just say, shoot, what is it? Hebrew is tricky, guys. Hebrew is tricky. Like Yoter Tov, like they're just it's so much good, and it's so clear. Both of you are amazing, and you really embody what I want people to know about Israel. Okay, so I get up every day to do the podcast because I need, and I want. Like it's okay, I want, okay, kol beseder, whatever. I need that people, all the world, knows you are Israel. This is Israel, guys. This is Israel. So if you're one of our listeners that's a little on the fence, please listen to this podcast more than once. Listen to these 2 ladies, because this is the heart, this is the soul. Yes, this came from their parents and they choose to live this way every day. Aval, a lot of Israel chooses to live this way. And every single day, Israelis get up and they have to choose to move forward. We have not forgotten. We will never forget. And we are doing things, but we choose to move forward. We have to move forward. And we will not only survive this, but we will thrive. Again, bigger and bigger and bigger. Kacha.
True.
Lama kacha. That's it. You know? That's what my son says, but why? I'm like, kacha. I don't know. At the end of the conversation, so that's it. There's no more. Listen, both of you beautiful
Thank
women,
you.
I love you so much. And if I don't end this podcast now, I'm going to cry. And I don't want
So
to
I
do
just
that
want to say
yet.
that the name of the movie that will come out in September is Bau, Artist at
Yes.
War.
Okay, and we will put all of that up. It'll be in the transcript. It will be in the description, guys. So don't worry. You know, I will make sure that you guys can get in touch, find things out. And of course, any of and send your comments though, guys, because when I'm there in a month and a half and we're walking through the museum, if there are specific things you want us to showcase or cover, let me know ahead of time and we'll make sure that we do that. Okay? So toda rabah.
תודה רבה, תודה רבה, מיליון פעמים תודה רבה.
Yes, אני אוהבת ממש, 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 ממש. So much. All right, I'm gonna cry too much. But I can't wait to see you guys, and we will do a follow up soon. So, I like to say to everyone, it's not goodbye, aval lahitraot.
להתראות.
So lahitraot, everyone. From Talk Israel, Real Talk Israel, and of course, our brand new official name on this podcast, Zionist AF. I am your host, Anya Farber, the Bau sisters. We out, guys.
תודה רבה, תודה. We'll meet very soon.